project, because obviously we can't borrow the money from the state at this attractive interest rate bond. In fact, you can't borrow even from commercial if it's a long-term debt without a bond. So they do have to be a bond approved by the voters. Now, these bonds will be revenue bonds, which means they will be paid off, the loans, the bonds secure the loan, so to speak, by revenues from the water department only. There will be no city tax increase. There will be no increase in your sewer rates. You know, those are high enough already, you don't want them to see. Now, you could go through the point of trying to pass a sales tax, and some cities have done that, but we feel like it's cleaner and better that whoever is getting the benefit should pay for the benefit. So it is proposed to be a revenue bond supported by revenues from the water department. If it was a sales tax or property tax bond, it would be considered a general obligation bond. School districts have general obligation bonds because they are financed by their tax levies. Whatever your tax levy here is in Golden City, I don't know what it is, will not be impacted by this. It will be strictly a function of your water rates. Okay? So the people who are using the water system will be paying for it. The state program requires that you initially pass bonds in the total amount of the cost of the project. And technically, your preliminary application is for the full amount of $4 million. And that's just, again, is the way the rules work. However, now let's get to the better part. Given the current source of funding that the state has, we have checked your eligibility on some points, the criteria. You definitely qualify on these grants. It looks right now very promising that you will get 50% of this. Technically, it's called a loan forgiveness, but in fact, it's a grant. You don't pay the grant back. You only pay back the amount you borrowed, which is going to be approximately $1 million. Okay? Now, what happens to the other $2 million in bonds that you pass? A bond election is like a line of credit. That means the state is fortunate enough, and we believe they will, to give you a $2 million grant. That's a $2 million line of credit you have that the city can use in the future, but it's just like if you have a line of credit from the bank. If you start using some of that, you have to pay for that portion when you're using it. But as long as you don't use it, you're not paying for it, okay? So it would just be set aside for future spending, and you wouldn't have to have another bond election for that amount that was left over. But I want to emphasize, you won't be paying loan payments on anything but the actual loan that is taken out. Now, if there were a change in the amount of loan forgiveness or grants, if you're going to get more, everybody's going to be really happy, but I can't guarantee it. If for some reason, by the time the state got around to actually processing this, said, well, we don't have quite as much money as they thought we have, we're going to only give you 25. You are not obligated to proceed at that time. You can either scale the project down and say, no thanks, that's not the offer we were given. The point is, you are not bound by the results of the bond election to proceed. There are still several points along the way that if things get out of kilter from what we think they should be. Let's face it, we are dealing with a government entity here. Like you change it here. You have the flexibility if you need to walk things. But we don't think that's going to happen. The state is very comfortable with the fact that they're getting a lot of this infrastructure. They think it's a good number to count right now, 50%. Okay. So what's that going to cost? Well, if you do the math on the fact that you have 320 some users, and it has to be applied to every user uniformly, use goes up or down, those revenues change. You don't want to be put in a position, you have a couple of down years on the sales, you all of a sudden don't have enough money to make a bond payment, loan payment. They will 99% of the time require you to put that on the minimum, so it's a standard monthly charge that everyone is paying the same amount. And right now, it looks like for a $2 million loan under the terms I've talked, it's going to be about $21, $22 a month in that range. That will be added to your water bill. Pardon? More than what you're paying now. Yes, this would be the amount of the increase. That is, you can discuss that with your representative here. And I understand what we're saying. Like I said, the project will be competitively bid to contractors. Not just anybody can bid it. They have to be, have the credentials of insurance bonding, and we will make the award to the lowest responsive bidder. So if it's real good environment, you can't hire Joe Blow's uncle because he has a backhoe or somebody that he can do the job. And construction of the project, probably after we finally got to the point of taking the bid, with the 40,000 feet of line, we probably give them about a year to complete the project. If you shorten it too much, then the contractor has to put on too many people, and then that drives the price up. But on the other hand, you don't want to drag it out forever, because then they drag it out forever. So based on my experience, this is probably about a one-year project. Now, if we proceed with it, when do you have to have this $21 loan increase? There's some options on that. If the city wanted to, they could wait till the construction was totally done, and you have to start making the loan payments. But you don't actually close and start making the payments until the construction is done. Do that all at one time. If they chose to maybe stair step that in over 1 or 2, every 6 or 9 months or 12 months, that would be an option for them to do. We have your council to decide. You're going to want to stress Anderson Engineering is not in charge of this project, telling your council what to do. Ultimately, this is a decision for your city council to make. We're here to assist, we're here to help the project, but ultimately, this is a citizen-based project, and they will determine it. And that's about all I have to say on the project right now. I think here in a bit, the council is going to discuss another possibility of a rate increase because of some current deficits you've got that you're going in the hole already, and I know you don't like to hear that, but there may be an increase on top of this 21, whether you do a project or not, because I'll just roughly say, what Bree told me last year, your water system ran $30,000. I will let her elaborate on that if she wants. Right now on the project, why we're doing it, how it would be financed. Yes, sir.
Yes. Is the requirement from the DNR to get the loan that you have to have the water hydrants, have to have 6-inch pipes before you can have
all new lines? Yes, all new lines.
And that is it's not the water system entirely itself, even though some of it's 90 years old. The water system itself might go 5-10 years.
Yes, that is correct. And in fact, we asked them about, can we put new hydrants on those old 4-inch lines? They gave us an unclear answer, but also said, if in fact that's what you're focusing your project on, that could be construed as a project primarily driven only by fire protection. And if that is the case, that project probably would not qualify for the program and certainly would not qualify for any grants. Whereas if you put the hydrants in conjunction with it, then there's no issue. So even though you could somehow convince them to put new hydrants on the 4-inch line, you might actually end up paying more because you wouldn't get the grant money.
I have another follow-up question.
Yes.
Isn't it true to get the grant money, you have to be operating in the black as a municipality as a city?
Yes, I didn't want to get ahead of myself, but when the state goes to look at your financing, when you apply, they are going to look at your current finances. And if they say you are in the red, that's going to run up a flag, and they're probably going to say you need to get yourself in the black now, and then proceed with it. Yes, ma'am?
Yes, I have an older home that's on Hicks Avenue, and it's,
Yeah.
and my parents not on the line. So I was just wondering why mine's not going to get any help, because it really needs some.
Well,
I have an old line. and I
your
have
service
this
line,
paper that says I will be able to get help from the,
okay, you're talking about
yes,
the line from the meter to your house? Okay,
that has nothing to do with this.
that has, this probably
Okay,
goes,
this is just a sewer line.
no, this is the water lines that go up to and include the meter.
Okay, that's up, okay.
If it's
Sorry,
downstream of the
I'm reading
meter,
something incorrect.
that is not
I
covered by
understand.
state financing on a water system.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
This project, you said 300 and some odd users will distribute the cost, the
Yes.
increase in their bill. Do you have a percentage of users that will not benefit from the project? Like you said, it will help some here, there. Does everybody, all users having their bill increased to cover the project, do all of them benefit, or is there a percentage of people that do not benefit from this project in any way on the map?
Well, I think there is not a clear-cut way to define who benefits the most and who doesn't, and the state will not recognize that. Now, granted, if you're in one of these people that your line is coming off a 6-inch line, and you're relatively close to the fire tower, then your direct individual benefit will be less. But there is no way that the state will allow us to break that out and say, well, you're benefiting 90%, and you're benefiting 10%, and you're benefiting, it just don't work that way, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's a percentage of users that will not benefit at all.
Well,
So overall, everybody's getting benefit because the maintenance of your system is going to continue to roll on.
Yes.
And those costs get spread out over everybody.
That is
So
true.
if you get them taken care of now, that'll handle that.
That's a good pickup, yeah, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I think I want to say thank you. Because you're trying to issue is absolutely critical for all of us. Water is fundamental to our life, to our system. And you're not ignoring the problem. And it's clear that a lot of time, a lot of thought, a lot of energy has gone into putting this. So I want to say thank you for that effort. The other thing that I think it addresses, as we continue to have more storms and climate change, we're going to see water being a very precious commodity. The wars in the Middle East, for example, they've been over oil, but I think in the future we're going to see more contention about water. And it's going to be critically important to protect that resource. Someone said, who is going to benefit? When we protect that resource, when we upgrade and when we improve the quality of life for all of the citizens in this community. And we're invested in one another. We are invested. We live in a community together. And we care for one another. And I think it is critically important, while we have this infrastructure money available to strike while the iron's hot, have the projects paid for. And is it going to cost us more? Yes. But one of the benefits that can't be ignored is we're going to have fire protection that we don't have now. That's really important. We've gone through some pretty doggone hot days. And that is something that is important. So you have from me wholehearted support, because you've done hard work to do this, and it will improve the quality of life for all the citizens.
Thank you back first, and then you.
Yes, if your population decreases, and the people that are left, because over the last 10 years, your population has decreased, and that's exactly what happened at the sewer plant. We keep accumulating the bill. And it's one of these situations that you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. We have lots of people in this town, 325, if you think about it, half of those are on fixed incomes. So, and if we're still in the red, I don't even know where we're going to look at this yet, but, and another question I have, if we have that many fire hydrants out, not working, I want to know how that is getting by with insurance, because, city insurance, because those should have been replaced yearly when they was going down and was faulty. So why all of a sudden, I mean, yes, I see the improvement is very good for Golden City, but yet there is also a side that people are on a fixed income and cannot afford an extra $20 when their bill over the last 10 years has went up tremendously. So, I mean, I'm for the upgrade. We all, I think we need the upgrade, but then on the other hand, we got eggs at $6 a gallon. We got this dozen, whatever, $5 a gallon for milk. You know what I'm talking about. So I think everybody is just concerned about that, and because the population, if it decreases, it goes on to that, and unless you can put a cap on the water bill, and I don't see that happening. It was even discussed that if it actually was discussed at $31 for your bill, and then even after that, it's still going to go up. So, I mean, all of us pay. I have a lady across the street, she's on a fixed income. Her bill is $60 a month, and she is by herself. So you add another 20, you're taking food out of people's mouths. Yes, one person.
Yeah, that was more than $50.
It's all of that.
Your water lines.
You can't afford to take the bath.
They are digital read, but they will still be read by manual reading. Now, they've got devices. They won't be this highfalutin kind where it automatically goes down the radio reading. Now, the devices, you got to walk by it. It's a compromising function since you only have 300 plus meters. We talked to the council about it. It didn't seem like it was no longer than it takes 300 meters. It didn't appear to justify, because you get into those more complicated automatically, it runs the price up double or triple from the water meter. So they're basically standard. Now they are digital read, but they're state of the art nonetheless. But they are not the super sophisticated computerized meters. No.
Then whenever they go to start cutting out pipes, how long are we going to be out of water at our section?
Well, we would try to do that to where we would hold it down to at any given time just a few hours. Again, that would be determined by the contractor and the engineer and the inspector and the city working together. No, we recognize you can't just put people out of the water.
So we're not talking days a week.
Yeah, you're talking a few hours at the most. And the procedure would be you would receive notification from the contractor or the inspector before that happens, so you would have notice, okay? Yes, sir. Back there, and then you.
Hi, I've got a question. You said you cannot get approved for this grant if the city's in the red. But you just said the city's in the red. So why are we going to do this?
No. That is why the city is going to be speaking right shortly about why they are going to be probably putting in a much smaller rate increase to get you into the black. You are correct. If you apply and if you don't do anything about your financial situation, you're right. It would be pointless to apply for this.
The city's in the red almost $400,000 now. So how's the city gonna pick up that $400,000 out of the red?
Okay, I don't know what you're referring to, 400,000. The city will tell you briefly, as far as the water system itself is concerned, it's about a $30,000 deficit this last year. Sir, you had a question.
What if it went through, we took out the loan and we got the grant?
Yes.
Say a year from now, the government comes up with much more money and there's a possibility of getting another grant. Can we get apply for another grant to pay off the loan?
Probably not, but never say never, because the rules, right now, that would not normally be allowed. But this is a bit of a different time, so I'm not saying what the government might not or might not do. My answer would be no, probably not, but we would have to keep in touch.
Another question. I've run into this many times. But they vote in that bonds.
Right.
Our rates go up. We get it paid for. Now, 30 years, I won't be there, but my son will be.
Yeah.
But anyhow, then will our rates go back down?
That would be up to the city council at that time.
I've never seen it happen.
That's true.
About right. In the procedure that says they have to keep it in effect after the loan is paid off. Now, how many of them actually reduce the guy, I understand what you're saying. But it does, taking out the loan does not obligate that rate, that loan payment amount, $some a month, to go on forever.
So let me make a comment here, trying to wrap this up.
So, been waiting on their questions for a while.
No, I'm gonna get you. I just want to make a comment. So you don't have to do anything, folks, right? Like I said, this is information to the city. You guys as voters are gonna come out and you're gonna make decisions on how you want your future, right? Just keep in mind, like I say, right now, funding wise, like I said, I've been doing this for a long time, Pat's been doing this for a long time. I've been doing it 35 years, Pat's been doing it for 100. So keep in mind, right, the cost of things now are terrible. The cost of things 5 years from now are going to be very terrible. And the next 5 years is going to be very, very terrible. Give you a quick example. Pre-COVID, we put a project together for a community in southwest Missouri. $2.1 million was the estimate pre-COVID. The bid came in post-COVID, $4.7 million. It's not going to get any cheaper to fix it. The only thing we're trying to stress to you tonight is there's an opportunity with the funding available that we haven't seen. When I started in this industry in the mid-'80s, you could get your sewer plants financed with 90% grant. Right? Those days right up before the 90s hit. Okay? I haven't seen dollars like this floating around since then. There's grant dollars here and there, that kind of stuff, but this is an opportunity. The government gives us dollars, they have to be spent by 2026. Generally, these projects take about 2 years to get all the plans designed, get the projects bid, get the construction done. So we're already looking at 2024, 25. And so they're going to try and divvy out as much money as they can to get rid of that, is what they're going to do. So now's an excellent opportunity for you, and that's the information we really wanted to get out. You had a question.
My question is, so as they're replacing the water lines and they have to go under roads, I'm assuming a lot of asphalt's going to be dug up. Is the repair for those roads also figured in?
Yes.
Good.
And we
So
will,
you have to be careful about that. So there's two different programs. There's USDA dollars and there's SRF dollars, which is DNR. And so we need to confirm that with DNR. USDA, if you work on the street, they will let you asphalt. It's loan only, but they let you asphalt. DNR, maybe you know.
Is that an estimate?
right now, and of course, we have not got into actually writing the bid document, so we're a long way from that. But the answer to your question is, if we cut the roads in certain places, is the repair of that asphalt figured in the cost estimate? Yes. Now, it may well be, because we're starting to see this with the improvement in boring equipment and horizontal drilling equipment, that it may be cheaper or better to give them an alternative. But sometimes you can get those roads bored now with the newer equipment they have compared to 20 years ago. we have in putting together this $4 million effort tried to reflect what we think are the reasonable amounts being, you know, 3 years ago, if I'd been estimating this project, it'd probably been $2 or $3 million, I'll tell you. But we have tried to make sure we've got enough in it. Now, will that be exactly what it is? I don't know, because ultimately, what are the contractors going to bid? And if in fact the prices are too high, you have the option to reject them all and rebid if you think you can get a better bid. I want to emphasize, we don't know exactly, but we have made our estimates with what we think are current pricing trends in effect. And yes, it does include allowance for repairing the streets. Yes, sir.
No question. Directed to the mayor. Would the city be willing to write an ordinance that when the project bill is paid, that money will be deducted from our water bill?
I mean, I don't have a mind putting that proposal, you know, towards the council, if that is what the wishes of the citizens are.
I mean, we've never done it before. This would be a guarantee that when the project is paid for, that rate, that fee would be deducted from our water.
In effect, it would be like a sunset clause.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But that would help you maybe to get this passed.
I'd say that's certainly an option that the council would want to take under advisement and decide what they want to do with it. Yes, sir.
Is there anywhere online that we can go to review what you've done on these cards right here?
Or do you have printouts?
I think Bree is going to make those available at some point here. Thank you. She wants to know if
I will have copies at City Hall of the printouts as well as put it on Facebook on our site.
but yes, they will be made available. And we are leaving these charts here. Okay. Anything else? If that's all, one more.
There's a couple items we want to cover as well.
Well, I will say one other thing too, is the question about the insurance rating. I honestly don't know what your individual insurance carrier does, if they're even aware that you don't have fire protection law. But what would be done, once the project is done, the city would get a hold of what's called the insurance services, etc., ISO. And they would come in then and actually inspect your system, run what they call flow tests, that should result in a much better class of rating, which should ultimately reflect in better insurance for your rates. What your individual carriers are doing right now, I cannot speak to. I do not know. But I do know that if they came into town right now and tried to flow test some hydrants on their own, they would really screw away. So, okay, if that's it, we really need to get on to the mayor here. Thank you. Thank you very much.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. Your input, we value it. I mean, it may not seem like it, but anytime that you want to stop by City Hall and talk about any of these issues, it's much wanted. You can contact all of us that you want my forecasting questions. That's what this office is supposed to be about. I look forward to any conversation that you have. The ones that are tough, obviously, are the ones that we have to have. About our future and what it's going to cost us to have our community. This all started with fire hydrants, based on the fact that every year we have more and more things going down. I'm sorry? I'm trying, I got a little bit of a throat pain. Okay. This all started with fire hydrants. We looked at the situation we were having. I think we have 28 some fire hydrants that are out of use. And it's just a slow deterioration from a system that is vintage 1937.
Mine are not. It's brand
To
new.
replace an individual fire hydrant